you join us today in the Mk1 MX5 or the Miata or the Eunos Roadster, depending on which market you're from. Here in the UK we had the MX5. This, however, is actually a Eunos Roadster because it is an import, so it's been imported from Japan. And well, I guess the key reason for that is well, they came in cheap, but there, as you probably know, there's 1,000,001 different limited editions of the MX5, and of those, they tend to, they tend to be just superficial changes, trim levels, colours, different paints, different trim levels, different wheels, different tyres, different this, that and the other, steering wheels. But with the Japanese cars, there was a few sort of more driver-focused editions. So and this one benefits from a few of those. So this has got a limited slip diff at the back, which wasn't available on any UK model. It's also got lighter flywheel, I think. Yeah, it definitely has. It's got a lighter flywheel, and it's got, I think, a slightly closer ratio set of gears with that diff, because they certainly feel pretty closely stacked, and I think I remember reading that in the brochure. But they're the main things. It's also got Bilstein suspension. These are actually from an S Special, but I'm not sure if they were actually standard on this model as well, given that it was sort of like a last hurrah. It was one of the last of the Mark 1s, being a 97. So yeah, it's got a few choice extras that add up to a pretty awesome little drive, actually. Now, everyone probably knows everything there is to know about a Mark 1 MX5, or about all MX5s. You're either in one camp or another. You either love them, or you wonder a bit about what all the fuss is about. And I think that's because either you haven't driven one, or if you actually look at it statistically, like the way that we look at a lot of cars, especially if you haven't driven one, you weigh them up, you look at its performance figures, you look at its power, its acceleration, its braking, maybe its lap times, certainly on modern cars with the Nürburgring fascination. There's a number of things that will tell you about what a car's like, what it's going to behave like, what to expect from it, and all of those this car's pretty terrible at. So there's only 130 horsepower, there's not a lot of torque, it's a tiny little thing. It's probably not that fast round a circuit, but it probably is, because it's gonna hold on to the corners well, because there's only one statistic that adds up nicely, and that is its curb weight, of which it is just under 1,000 kilos. So that probably tells you all you need to know statistically. Everything else, it's telling you in a way that can't really be measured other than feel. So the gearbox, absolutely fantastic. The true sort of snick-snack feeling that we all speak about. Really, really incredible gearbox on this thing. I've had an MX5 in the past, and I just absolutely loved it, and the main reason is it's all the controls. It's the gearbox, it's the pedals, and it's the steering. Everything else is heavily compromised, but you forgive it because all of the communication is wonderful. So yeah, it's absolutely alert. It's the steering. At first, I've had one in the past, as I say, a few years ago, and I absolutely loved it. This one, I got in and I first thought, well, I don't know, the steering's very light, lighter than I remember, but come to think of it, no, it is always light. You get in and it first tells you, oh, is it going to be like a town car? Because the steering is light, but it's so directional, it's so accurate. I mean, it's absolutely on the nose. You turn in, it goes. Really, really direct. And the point is that weighting is consistent throughout. It's not like a modern day electrical assisted variable rack or anything. So as the weight changes, as the forces change on the wheels and the tyres, as you corner and everything like that, as you accelerate, as you brake, it tells you how much effect that is having on the front axle. So you turn in and you can feel it weight up with a linear fashion. And you know, this is a recipe in how to do light, easy to manage modern car in terms of drivability, but maintain fantastic driver feel. It's just a joy. The accelerator is a cable, the clutch is the clutch. So it's that good old honest driver feel, and it's fantastic. There's not much more to say. It's just difficult to get it across, because ultimately the things that you speak of when you drive a car like this are the little emotional connections that you have to a car, the emotional feelings, connections that your mind has when it's feeling this wheel and it's deciding whether or not it enjoys that. And that will be different for everyone, but you know, when across the spectrum of different motoring journalists and the like tend to uniformly agree that a car is a certain way, you sort of got to believe that must be the case. So the engine is a 1.8, it's 16 valve, 130 horsepower. I think the later ones are denoted as 133, but yeah, they really do like to rev, and they are supposed to be bulletproof. It's got some modifications, this car. It's got an intake, and it has a full stainless exhaust right from the manifold, which I believe is a 4-to-1. It's a Jasma something or other, but I believe they're pretty good. It certainly makes a lovely noise. I think the back box is a MX5 parts, but yeah, it makes a fantastic sound, and it sounds better outside than in. We've done some drive-bys and it sounds fantastic. You'll make your own mind up when you hear it, but you get to hear the induction as it comes to the camera, and then the exhaust from behind, and it's got that sort of like Japanese rasp to it, but it's so alert, and the whole car is just about connection. It's about agility. It's not about outright grip, but there's a lovely balance to the chassis, and you can feel that. Is easily tempted, even with not a lot of power. It's kind of like on quiet roads like this, on public roads in general, you can't go that quickly. There's always traffic, there's always speed limits, you know, you've got to be sensible really. But so how much horsepower do you need? Would you rather have 130 and be able to use all of it, or would you rather have 500 and use sort of like 20%? It's that kind of theory. I mean, ultimately, when you pull away from some lights onto a fast A road or a dual carriageway or something like that, you get embarrassed. But you only get embarrassed if you care about the fact that you're, you know, comparing performance figures, and you don't care about comparing performance figures in this car. And the gearbox as well, something that you can't sort of like measure on a chart. There's no chart, there's no statistic to say this is a good gearbox, it rates as a X out of 10. It just is that beautifully oiled sort of rifle bolt action that this has. It's done 100 and something thousand miles, it's 20 years old, and it feels perfect, absolutely perfect, no trouble at all. And the pedals, the accelerator just being a cable, the throttle being a cable is glorious. You ask for it, it does it. So yeah, that is the key of the MX5, and we hope you've enjoyed looking at it, and we'll catch you next time. Thank you.